Welcome to Owen and Beru's barbecue. Tonight we're cooking up something special. We've got some Klatooinian patty frogs, frog legs, straight from Jabba's palace into your mouth. So, slurp them up. We have two cooks in the house tonight. It is myself, Matt. Matt, as always, I seem to always be on these things, and ever lovely, ever beautiful,
Nick.
Oh, Nick. Okay, sorry. I guess I could have.
I thought you were gonna. I thought you were just gonna say it. So.
We're going a little live. So if these patty frog legs are a little
raw.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
so
Jabba liked them raw.
He did. He just slurped them up. Actually kept the slime on his face. So, yeah. Anyway, we're actually here tonight. We're, of course, down a member. I don't know if he's even part of this show anymore. He says he wants to record, but
and he backs out.
But when the time comes, and I get it, he's a busy man. So, but well, anyway, we're missing Chris tonight. But Nick and I, we really wanted to talk about the most recent Rise of Skywalker trailer that just dropped earlier this weekend, I guess. I mean, There was a ton of stuff that happened over the weekend that was Star Wars related, right?
A lot of good news.
Yeah. I mean, we could start with a little Mandalorian talk. What did you think of the trailer?
I liked it. Yeah. I actually forgot about that one to watch until today because I was like, I don't know why I forgot to watch the Mandalorian trailer, but I did. I liked the vibe of it. There's not a lot of nuggets in it, but I liked the vibe of it. It felt like a Western. I liked the feeling of it. And the only thing that really shocked me with the trailer, though, is that they'd been saying this whole time that the Mandalorian was going to take place after, at least I thought it was, after this new trilogy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no, after Return of the Jedi.
Was that okay? So, okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, because that's what I was like, oh, this is Empire era. I was like, okay, so I think that will get more people to watch because you're going to have classic stormtroopers. It's roughly, I think I read that somewhere that it's roughly taking the exact same time as Han, the Solo movie. So that'll be interesting.
I thought it was 6 years after Jedi is what I saw the official timeline. There was a timeline that was released over the weekend as well.
Okay, so maybe there is some conflicting stories then. Okay.
Yeah, it shows kind of like where everything fits in.
Okay, so it's after Jedi. Okay, that makes sense.
It is after Jedi, and from what I understand, it's 6 years. So,
okay.
So that gives us kind of, and it's supposed to take place kind of in the outer reaches and the outer territories. So, obviously there's little Empire pockets around, probably still trying to like hold on to their, their iron grip. So,
right.
We saw some Death Troopers in the trailer. So
we did. I thought that was a bit weird, and that's what also made me think maybe it's before A New Hope, because the only time you've seen Death Troopers was in Rogue One, and you're like, oh well, this is what 9 years later or something like that, roughly, and so you just kind of we never saw them in the original trilogy, so all of a sudden they just show up again. So that's a bit odd to me, but I know that it's 9 years is nothing, so they would still be in existence, but we'll see. I'm looking forward to it. I'm actually looking forward more to The Mandalorian than I am
Rise of Skywalker.
Just because I really trust in the people that are behind it. Jon Favreau is a very capable director. You have Dave Filoni, helping out. I think and then the budgets for each episode is so vast. Like I can't imagine them screwing it up. But we'll see.
Yeah, and it seems pretty concise. So I think the fact that they've boiled it down, the thing is with the saga stories, there's so much to talk about. There's so much to cram in there that it is a full meal. Where I think with the TV shows and what we've liked about, Rebels and as they kind of boil it down to this one thing, we're just focusing on this. We don't have to make any grand kind of claims about the Skywalker saga or the legacy or,
Right. And I think that's what's worked with Disney, is that you have lower expectations when it's a very focused story. Whereas in, the saga is don't mess with my saga, man.
Right.
And because I think because I think Rogue One worked, I think Solo worked for the most part, and so I'm hopeful for the Mandalorian.
Yeah. Well, it should be a nice kind of lead up, I guess, to Rise of Skywalker. I know you probably haven't seen any of the Star Wars Resistance animated show.
I have not. I know that it's coming to an end, though, which is kind of a surprise.
Mm-hmm, yeah, I think so. I've watched it with my kids. I've had some lows with it. I mean, it's okay. It just didn't. It didn't capture my attention, and of course, I'm a Jedi fan, so I love anything with the Force, and it doesn't have the Force in it, so or Force users per se, and that's fine. I mean, I think it's definitely a harder road to travel, but season 1 was so locked into where they were, and I did like how they ended it. I mean, where they took that character that they created, and the last 2 episodes got me really excited. And then the new trailer dropped, and my kids were just over the moon about it. It's a nice long trailer, and it looks like they're more kind of in this adventure where they're visiting different worlds, and there's going to be, I don't know, just a little bit more. So that starts up in October. You also have the Force Friday that's coming up in the first weekend of October, where all the toys drop. A lot of new books coming out. There's a book called The Art of Rebels, which I'm looking forward to. It's more of a behind the scenes, but excited to get a little bit of a glimpse into that. So you got that happening in October, and then The Mandalorian, and of course the Disney Plus starts up with that in
November 12th.
Yeah.
One last thing about, because I noticed it because Ralph had posted something about it. The ship that he's flying in the Mandalorian trailer. I guess Dave Filoni, because he's involved in it, gave him permission to use it, because this was an unused design that he had for Ventress, for her ship.
Oh, huh.
Because I remember seeing that drawing of it at one of the Comic-Cons. Of course, they didn't do it entirely to the drawing, but I remember like the landing gear is like the same as the walkways to get into the ship, and like they also had guns and according to the landing. It was like just a neat little kind of concept art.
Yeah, and it kind of, I mean, knowing Filoni and his history with the Clone Wars, it really kind of looks like a Clone War troop ship. It
does. That's what, yeah, exactly. And that's why I think that's why it was, originally designed for Ventress. It's that period of that era, So, although it looks a little polished though in the trailer, so I'm not sure if it's from that era. But I'm looking forward to it. I know your son will too, because I know he loves ships.
Yeah, he does. He likes ships, and he we watched the Mandalorian, and of course, I think my daughter she can be a little bit more picky about stuff, and so she was like, yeah. Whereas my son was like, cool, So I think it really definitely like has more of that boy factor going on.
Oh yeah, I think so. I mean, it's a Western, and that kind of has that Walking Dead, Firefly feel to it, to where it's, But it parted me for a minute when I thought it might be before the original trilogy part. I was like, what if the Mandalorian is actually Boba Fett, like a young Boba Fett, and then like at the end you see him like embrace like who he is, and then actually paint his armor. But then I was like, oh, never mind.
Well, I mean, I think there's a lot of kind of who is the Mandalorian. I know that Favreau has said that Boba Fett will not appear in this series. So, and I don't know if that is legitimately IG-88 in the trailer or if that's another, because there's a couple different versions.
It's a droid. A droid's a droid. It could be anybody.
Yeah, there's a couple different assassin droids out there that are kind of like IG-88. So, so it'll be interesting to kind of see how that ties in. I think that unless Sabine walks out in the last episode, my daughter's just going to be like, pass. But that's fine. She's got other things to worry about. Like,
that would be. I mean, she'd be older at this point. She'd be in probably in her late 40s.
Well, at the end of Jedi, she looked like she was in her 20s, so she would be somewhere in her 30s.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, if you think about Sabine in Rebels, she's got to be at least 20. That's what I would think. And then the original trilogy takes place over the course of about 9 years. So she'd be 30. Yeah, okay. So you're right. Okay. So it should be late 30s. Okay.
Okay.
Or still there'd be no math. Yeah.
Our emails that will flood in at theforceiswelldone@gmail.com will all be about Sabine's real age.
Yeah.
So if you have any emails to send us, please send us those. We do plan on having some more episodes coming up. I know that Nick and I are both interested in The Mandalorian, would love to do some podcasts about that.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've talked about that on our other side show. The RCAD, if you really don't know who we are and you just tune in for the Star Wars talk and you want more rambling. So, and we do talk a lot about Star Wars on there whenever Jack lets us.
Especially in these last couple episodes, we've kind of gotten into it. We're kind of gearing back up, the excitement's.
Yeah, the excitement's building. I think, not only with Disney Plus coming out, but there's a lot more material coming. And I had read somewhere that Disney Plus is offering, like, if you buy the first 2 years,
you get third free.
Free. I'm like, I wonder if they're trying to dismay like any of those, like, oh, they're just going to jack up the price.
Well, because they will. It's the same as like with Amazon. I mean, Amazon was what, $5.99 when it started, and then not Amazon, I'm sorry, Netflix.
Right.
And then it went up to $7.99, and you're like, or $8.99, and then you're like, oh, like, that's a good price. I can still do that. That's nothing, and then now it's what, 15 something. So it's,
if you want to share, it's like $12.99 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's just part of that monthly money grab that I'm like, oh, where'd that money go?
Right.
So.
That always, because I don't do anything auto pay because that scares me. The fact that it's like, oh, like all of a sudden, like, oh, wait a minute, exactly what you're saying. Like, where did that money go? I only do it for one thing, and like it's only $8.99, but still it bothers me. I'm like, oh, because it doesn't like notify me that like, oh, $8.99 has been taken from your. I just see it all of a sudden. Like, where's that $9? But anyway.
Well, if you're like me, I like to use some of that Jay and Jack patron money to help pay for my entertainment. So for those of you that are interested in becoming a patron to help out the Jay and Jack Network, all of our podcasts and podcasters, you can do so by heading over to jayandjack.com, click on the patron link, become a patron member at $1 or $100, whatever you want to do. We would appreciate that. Yes. Little plug there, and I'll go ahead.
Well, it's great. No, I mean, it's great to become a patron, guys, because then you're getting to an exclusive Facebook group that only patrons get into, and we have a lot of good inside jokes there, and that's really a true community in there. And as well as a lot of the podcasts have extensions, or extended episodes, and so you get exclusive content to that as well for becoming a patron.
And we just solved a big, huge podcasting kind of issue that we had, which was broadcasting on our YouTube page and having live hangouts. So we'd like to basically offer that as well. Like I said, Nick and I are planning on doing some more Owen and Beru's as all of this material comes out. So I could totally foresee us having a live hangouts and offering that for our show as well. So and I guess this is a good time as any to throw in a commercial break.
Oh, sure. Okay.
And so anyway, we're back. Let's go ahead and I know we kind of danced around the Mandalorian, getting to the main thing that we wanted to talk about, right?
Well, not to sidebar, but we should just announce also about Obi-Wan. Just for half a second.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I forgot about that. Yeah,
probably the most exciting part of D23 was the official announcement of Ewan McGregor is back.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely, I mean, all of these trailers coming out as somehow I've forgotten the most amazing news ever. I mean, it kept being rumored and kept being hinted at, and it was just so annoying. It was just like watching a Hollywood couple, like, like you're like, will they, won't they?
Yeah.
You're just like, come on, just do it. Just get married.
Well, I mean, because we've been wanting an Obi-Wan movie, just something, because like I think a lot of people want, some kind of bridge there. And like, what do you think? Like, I think I would be happy with just one season, and just tell a good story of Obi-Wan on Tatooine, some struggles there, him watching over young Luke, or then you could span it over whatever, and then then you could actually show the fight with Darth Maul if you wanted to. I mean, it could be
that would be amazing, and I think. From what I understand, rumor-wise, is that this was always planned to be a movie. Mm-hmm. They wanted to do Kenobi as a movie, but then with the unfortunate box office performance of Solo, someone at Disney was just like, "Oh man, nobody's gonna go see Kenobi." You know how many friends of mine have posted about Kenobi? I mean, just friends that were just like, "Yeah, I'm a Star Wars fan, but Kenobi."
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's just so many people have really I've just erupted. And I think that it doesn't matter if you are an original trilogy fan or a prequel trilogy, or just an Ewan McGregor fan.
Well, I think, I like the prequels. I don't love them. I like them. I respect them for what they are. But I think the one great casting of the prequels was Ewan McGregor for Obi-Wan. I mean, he nailed that role. Looks just like him, his mannerisms, his speech. I mean, it's a very good casting, for that part.
And really, he brings some of the most emotional lines to that Revenge of the Sith moment where, you were my brother, Anakin.
Exactly.
I can't think of anything more that brings the emotion than his performance in that.
I mean, yeah, he should have came out at D23 though, and just announced, said hello there.
Right.
That should have made it, but
yeah, it's amazing news, and in some ways, even though we're not getting the movie, I'm kind of more excited, and I'm with you. Make it a mini series. I don't care if it's 6 episodes or 10.
Right. I don't either. Yeah.
Just do it concise and do it well.
Well, there's so many things. Imagine if George Lucas would have thought of Star Wars today. Would have Star Wars been a movie, or would it have been like a Game of Thrones to where, I'm going to actually show Luke, Han, and Leia's story over the course of 6 seasons?
Oh, it totally would have been a TV show. I mean, the fact that his original script, he had 9 segments, and it was a serial-based kind of, episodic thing. I mean, yeah totally.
And I like a lot of I don't like filler just for the sake of filler, but I like a lot of in-depth stuff. So I'm hoping that with Kenobi they can actually, give us more of a story than just a quick little scene.
Yeah. And it's some of the side stories that they did in the Marvel comics. Now there's a storyline in the Star Wars Marvel comics that they have Luke go back to Obi-Wan Kenobi's house, and he gets his journal. And so throughout the comic, occasionally they throw you this Kenobi bone, and they're like, "Oh, here's a little Kenobi story," and it's Luke reading, Kenobi's journal, and which I really liked that, storytelling format. Not that they need to use that. But the stories that they had that took place in there, I could totally see them at least referencing or filling in or embellishing more. I mean, there's a whole comic where he fends off an entire Tusken Raider attack.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get something like that too.
Yeah.
I agree that I like those little things like that. It's in a book, I think, I forget which one, probably The Rise of Vader. No, it can't be The Rise of Vader. It's one of the, but you learn that Vader has Obi-Wan's lightsaber. He's kept it, since he killed him. It's so there's some part of Anakin even there that, I'm not sure if it's just a trophy or not, but you're like, hey, Vader kept Kenobi's lightsaber after the Death Star. So some part of him is still holding on to memories.
Sorry, I'm just distracted by. I shouldn't have looked at my messenger.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, and I'm with you in agreement. I would love to see a Darth Maul Kenobi. I mean, yes, what happens in Rebels is awesome, but wouldn't it be cool if we saw it?
Yeah, because Yeah, Ray Park is still looks pretty good, and he's in. I mean, last time I saw him was 2015, but he still looked good and fairly in shape, and I'm sure he'd be up for it.
And sadly, I mean, there's those people that are just never going to watch it because it's a cartoon. But what happens in that scene between those two is so cool, and so it's done so well that you know, I don't care if they do it shot for shot or if they want to embellish it. But just give us.
Yeah, I think they would add more to it.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. But yeah, I agree. Like, I think with Solo, like the little things that they set up with, this was it called the Syndicate or whatever it was called? Like, with that, they can really kind of play into that on Tatooine of like this corrupt kind of mafia like world, and how does that play into what Obi-Wan's doing? Because you can see that in Solo that that's where they're going to head next is Tatooine. So it's
and I mean I thought that they could have totally set this up where just like how in Marvel, like you get little pieces of like each character kind of sewn into the other movies. They could have totally sewn in the whole Red Dawn in a Kenobi movie. So, but hey, keep the ball rolling and let's see it in Kenobi. So I'm excited. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. I completely, it's just like, I'm like, oh yeah, the trailers. Let's get to the trailers. The Rise of Skywalker trailer 2, I had read about it. I had read basically like a whole article that was just kind of like this is what happens, and I was just like, oh, that's cool. Yeah. And then of course they release it. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh, okay. So you were spoiled on the trailer before it was even released. I
was spoiled on the trailer. Mm-hmm. So I knew what was going to happen. So I was a little, So spoilers matter. They can definitely spoil like that surprise. Like I think had I seen that trailer and not known what was coming, I would have been like, what?
Yeah, there's definitely some nice little nuggets in there too. Like because I watched it at work yesterday probably 6 or 7 times and just kind of slowly picked through it, because that's just me being OCD. And, like there's a lot of little interesting things that are in it that you can read into, and I always read into everything, and probably my imagination will be cooler than what actually happens. But I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are, and hopefully I can, give you some cool ideas too.
Yeah. Well, I think you were the one that were working on a shot for shot of the trailer.
I broke it down to a page and a paragraph. So
okay.
I mean, we don't have to go through mine. It's just my note. But
okay. So my initial thoughts. I was like, I think the things that grabbed me the most was seeing. Okay, so there's something that was not in the trailer that I saw posted somewhere else. And I don't know where this came from, but I saw it like either on my Instagram or somewhere. And I do not go searching for spoilers. I really don't. I try to stay as far away. I read headlines. I'm like, no. I'm not reading you. I don't want to think that. But I had seen an image of a, what looks to be Princess Leia's spaceship from A New Hope. I can't think of the Corellian Corvette. Is that what
Corvette? Yeah, like a modern one, a modern version of it.
I mean, it looked old. It looked like an old school, like Rebel blockade runner.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, wow. And so when that didn't appear in the episode, I was kind of like, I was kind of hoping to see that. But okay, that's fine. That wasn't there. I loved seeing the ships jump out of hyperspace. Yeah. And that was probably one of those moments that I kept pausing and looking at.
Well, yeah. Well, since we're there, let's just go ahead and talk about that.
Yeah.
Because, I liked that as well, but it definitely confused me in that, is this a flashback? What is this? Or is this like a whole fleet that we don't know about? Because, You see the Rebellion, because these are Rebellion
Mhm.
ships. There's definitely some of the new Resistance TIE fighters. Oh, not sorry, X-wings that are. You can clearly see the engines being halved to set around. So I'm like, okay, this is the Resistance. But the next shot you see is an entire armada of Imperial era Star Destroyers. And so you're like, well, what is this? And it's in this really weird blue kind of lightning-ish background. So you're kind of like, well, where did this come from?
Right.
Is this a potential Thrawn type armada that's coming out of the unknown regions, after years of banishment, or like, what is this? Like, is it something the Emperor had cooked up, or as a failsafe if something happened? Like, your mind kind of races with this. Like, where did these old school Star Destroyers come from?
No, that is so. The Rebellion side or Resistance side, seeing all of those ships, and I guess like every single old school ship's there. You got A-Wing, X-Wing, B-Wing, is in that shot. I don't know if Y-Wing's in there.
Yeah, there is a Y-Wing.
Is there a Y-Wing?
Yeah.
But if you notice the Falcon, it's just a silhouette, but it looks different.
Yeah.
It's got kind of some end piece on it. It looks modified. So, because it doesn't have the gap. It doesn't have the...
right, yeah.
Yeah, like it's got something filled in almost like Solo.
Right.
So... And then, my second thought was these are Imperial class Star Destroyers, because when I read the description of this, I kept imagining First Order Star Destroyers.
Right.
And then when I saw it, I was like, those aren't First Order. That's Empire. So what's going on there? So my mind was racing just like yours. Like, what is that about? So... and then we also see that blast, almost like a Death Star blast, hitting a planet.
That was the only part of the entire trailer I went, oh, shit. I'm sorry. Or, like, oh, no. Because, I don't want another Star Destroyer. We don't want another Death Star. We've had now 3. It's like, no, just let it go. It's failed 3 times. And so, like, a part of me, though, if you look at the blast actually hitting the ground, I think it's more just a bombardment from Star Destroyers. It makes more logical sense to it to think about it. So that's what I'm hoping for anyway, because I don't want it to be another test.
Okay. So we also, I think it kind of opens up early on with this, the group of our kind of freedom fighters.
Yeah. Well, I'll go ahead and start.
Sure.
Yeah. So like the first thing we really hear is, we've passed down all we know from Luke, the line we've already seen from the first trailer. And you're getting flashes of the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy. So it's not just saying, I don't know, like I kind of read into that as more like, it's not just Jedi knowledge. It's our history. It's the audience history of knowing this is coming to an end. Like this is everything. And you see these quick shots of connections with people, like people hugging, people touching hands. Like it's a lot of so I'm not sure what that means either, but you definitely are getting this establishment of relationships within characters. And I don't know if they're just trying to make it have an emotional connection with the audience too. And that we've all lived through this. That's just where that started. And then, getting to what you were saying, we see the new characters all arrive on this arid planet, I guess is the best way to describe it. And I think it's called Pasana, a little town. And if you look, C-3PO is with them, but from what you just a quick shot, it looked like there's a battle going on. Because you see these little explosions in the air. It's too small of a shot to really look at it. But because Poe's face is really expressive in that shot. Rey is not. She's just very stone-faced. But Poe's face either gives you the reaction of it's like a shock face of like either he's concerned or he didn't believe where they were going existed. It was like if you look at that face he's making, it's one of those moments where it's like wow, like found it, because they're pretty far away from the city. So I just thought that was neat. I was like, that's what I saw about that scene.
I I mean, aside from the explosion that was shooting up, which I couldn't determine if that was a celebratory
right.
like shot or if that was an actual like explosion of something happening. So I think the description that I heard was they were looking on a bazaar of like, traders from around.
Okay.
So that was the description I read. So, I mean, again, this is, people reading into things. So, yeah.
And then we get a really quick look at Leia, which was nice. But I'm curious to see what exactly they do with. I know all the footage is just reprocessed footage. So.
Yeah. It will be interesting how they. I mean, I think watching it will probably be too caught up in all of the like plot stuff, but I'm sure there's going to be a part of us that's like, oh yeah, that's Leia. Like she's gone. So
yeah, it'll be a bittersweet moment for sure.
It will.
And then we get another quick shot of Finn and a new character, Janna.
Yep.
Who I assume is probably going to be Lando's daughter, which makes the most sense because they're both in the cockpit of the Falcon. And they both it's a quick shot, but you see both of them looking out of the cockpit of the Falcon with a shocking thing on their expression on their face. So what they're looking at, we don't know.
We're made to believe that they're looking at all those Imperial Star Destroyers.
Yeah, that would make sense. Actually, yeah, that would make a lot of sense.
But rarely do trailers ever like actually tell a story from A to B. So
true. And then probably one of the most talked about, probably the second most talked thing about from this trailer is next thing you're seeing is evil C-3PO with the red eyes.
Oh yes.
Now I'm not sure if you know this or not, but we've only seen a protocol droid with red eyes once in a fairly recent Darth Vader series from 2015 is when he was first appearance of a character called 000.
Yes.
Who was basically just an evil protocol droid.
Familiar with 000. He is, and if you've read Dr. Aphra, which I do, 000 appears in Dr. Aphra quite a bit and is a total, just complete opposite of C-3PO, like cutthroat, ruthless. So
program for etiquette and torture.
Yes. Complete. So that's exactly what I made me think of was 000.
Now, seeing that I thought was cool, but of course then the brain starts to race, and you're like, okay, so is this just a new program? Yes, my first logic is like, okay, is this a new program and it just turned his eyes red? Or is this an accident? Or is this some kind of hidden program within C-3PO, like from Anakin? Or then I start thinking more like, he's rising up almost like Vader did, in episode 3, like he's in this chair and like he's evil. So that's what he thinks about is this some kind of hidden thing? Or is it like, we saw in Rebels is somehow this a connection to Anakin? And then I thought, was there one I thought I had like, and then of course, or is it going to be like 000 to where like he just gets a new program and all of a sudden now he's in like hunter killer mode, which I think would be a bit cheesy to see C-3PO after all these years, just, like killing people. But
it is probably one of my favorite and funniest moments in Star Wars Legos. So there is a Star Wars Legos, I can't remember what, but he has some different programming and C-3PO just goes total like balls to the walls, like just guns blazing and kills everybody. And he's just like, so it's funny in Lego Star Wars. I don't know how it'll play out in real life Star Wars. So so yes. And then is this when we also see next the Rey throwing the boomerang lightsaber? So
the next thing we saw was we already talked about with the blaster hitting the ground and what might be a new Death Star, but yes, you're right. So finally we see Rey in training, which is this scene. And it is with a remote droid, the same type that Luke trained with.
I saw that. I mean, it's just like just for the splittest of seconds, you can see one in there.
It's really quick, yeah, because like, you're more focused on the tree that's getting cut down. But yeah, if you look just to the right, you see the remote.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, that's cool. And I wondered if this is kind of like a mea culpa, from JJ, because so many fans were like, well, why is Rey so powerful? She hasn't been trained, so like, are we actually going to see her now training just a little bit? Like, oh, yeah, like okay.
It's her Rocky montage.
Yeah, exactly.
I've got to just like toss the lightsaber a couple times and I'm good.
But I like it. I like the fact that she's using, because you don't see it a lot. The whole force throw of the lightsaber. You see it from Vader in Return of the Jedi. And it is a cool move in the fact that you throw it and it comes back to you. And I always like that.
I think we've seen it in Clone Wars too.
Yeah, we've seen it more in the cartoon.
Yeah,
but yeah, an actual.
No, it's. I'm hoping that this movie is going to be just as jam packed with nuggets like this, even if they're just callbacks that Star Wars geeks are going to be like, ooh. Right after that, and I'm not trying to step on your toes.
No.
Remembering the trailer, we also see Kylo Ren.
Right, that's the next scene.
Yeah, slicing the ground. You can see his ship in the background.
Yeah, the brand new TIE Interceptor, which is a little bit larger and.
It's a little bit more reinforced. I think my son has already made the claims that he's going to own that.
A real one though, Dad.
A real one, yeah.
It's on an ice planet, so I'm curious, or at least it looks like an ice planet. Going back to C-3PO, like that's my mind races because I keep thinking that we're going to return to Mustafar, to Vader's temple. And like, what if there was like another protocol droid in there, and that's the actual C-3PO we're seeing, or something like that,
Yeah.
Like he built another one, and this one though is more Sith than,
That'd be interesting. Yeah.
So yeah, and then so the same thing. So all you see is Kylo land on his ship, and he ignites his lightsaber. He's walking towards the camera. That's it. And this is where you get the first Emperor's voice. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know if you noticed this, but I did. Like, it doesn't sound like the Emperor. It sounds like someone trying to do an impersonation of the Emperor. Like, and you wonder if like maybe they couldn't get him to do the voiceover for the trailer just yet or whatever. But and it's just one of those little nitpicky things of me, But you hear just your journey, like that's all you hear is just your journey. Then a pause, and then you see. And I wonder if a lot of people pick this up or not. Like you see a scene really quick of Kylo and Rey fighting with lightsabers, but they're fighting on the remnants of the Death Star.
Yes.
And you see the water around them. And if you look in the background, you can see little chunks of it.
That's kind of what I picked up from it as well. I mean, when she looks out at the Death Star, the broken Death Star from the first trailer, it's the water looks exactly like what they're fighting on. So I mean, it only makes sense that they're like fighting in this wreckage of the Death Star.
Yeah. So. And she seemed to be fighting a little bit more aggressively than usual, like more like Anakin than herself. I mean, just noticing the strikes that she's giving, and maybe just all that training, she's got more confident, or maybe she's giving in a little bit more to her hate. You never know.
What is it? So the Emperor says your journey,
and then we're cut to that scene real quick, and then he comes back after that real quick to say Palpatine voice, and it says, "Is near its end."
Okay.
Now, this is interesting because you wonder who he's talking to in this, because the next thing you see is just the screen go black. And you hear Vader's breathing.
Yes.
You also hear a faint voice. And like this is one of those things where I actually went hunting for this one.
Okay, great.
I personally didn't hear it, but if you slow it down to like 75 times slower, you supposedly hear "I destroyed him" being said during that scene. And you don't know who said it. It could have been Ben. It could have been Vader. It could have been anybody. Because
now that's interesting because I watched a version with closed captions on. I don't know why. Like I didn't activate it. It just for whatever reason had some captioning below, and it said, "It is him."
Oh, okay.
When the Emperor was talking. So the first time I watched this, and I was not in a great place to view this, like just like absorb it. So I was kind of just like watching it on my phone, and then I couldn't quite hear what the Emperor said, and all I saw was it is him, and I was like, well, that's weird. So that's interesting that you also heard this, like I destroyed him,
right? Him definitely seems to be a word that is said then. Yes. Like I said, it's really hard to hear. You can't really make it out. So it is him. I wonder if what that could be. Because I kind of liked it if it was I destroyed him, because you could have like, because Vader said I destroyed Anakin. You have Kylo saying I destroyed Ben. So like that would make sense. But like with you saying it is him, that opens up a whole other can of worms.
Yeah. So obviously it gets to this amazing moment where we get Dark Rey.
Hold on.
Oh, sorry. There's more. There's more in that blackout, because there's a lot of sounds that happen.
Yeah, it's just in my notes here that I wrote, because it's clearly Palpatine says something about a journey. This has to be Anakin. This is just stuff that I'm writing as I'm watching it. Because I think this trilogy is going to be, has a lot of Anakin to do with it, because even Lucas has said that this whole story has always been about Anakin. Anakin was the chosen one, and I can't imagine them all of a sudden rewriting it to where Luke was the chosen one or Rey was the chosen one, right? Because I think he would put that in a contract saying like, "Don't mess with my characters and my original, thing." Yeah, that's it. Yeah, there's visions. I mean, there's quick shots, really quick, of Vader, killing the Emperor and all this. I think, and then now we get to Sith Rey with her Swiss Army knife. Have you seen that?
Yes, I did. Actually, I think I saw that shortly after was the Swiss Army.
I did think it was funny. Yeah.
No, it is funny. So for sure.
Now this is probably the most talked about, just quick shot, and there's another one that I broke down too, because the mind races when you see this kind of stuff. Like, what is it? Because my first initial reaction was, and still the one I believe in, is that it's just a vision. It's not really
right.
Because if you look at the screen, it's not blurry, but it's kind of confined to like a cave, And then when she moves the lightsaber, when she chunks it out to make the second blade ignite, the frame actually moves a little bit to, if you're looking at it, moves to the left. And so it makes me think that like it's like a cloth or like something is like, cause it moves just in a really odd way.
Yeah, and I had seen somewhere where somebody slowed it down and thought there was another figure in that same scene. So I
didn't see it.
Yeah, I didn't see it either. I think most people are kind of on this like it's a vision. I think a lot of people are kind of like, this has got to be a vision, because it would go against your character. Although there's been several key moments from Rey's past, also noted in the Force Awakens book, that she was supposed to see a dark vision or a dark Force ghost of Anakin when she was battling Rey. When she was battling Kylo, sorry.
Right.
Yeah. So and then of course in The Last Jedi, Luke says that she goes right to the dark side. Like she doesn't hesitate.
Well, okay, so the other two theories that are interesting is that if you look in that same shot, she's got a ring on her left hand. You can't make much. I mean, you can't make much about it, but it looks similar to Snoke's ring.
Interesting.
So you kind of wonder, is she possessed? If it actually is her, like, did that ring, did she put it on, or like did something happen to where all of a sudden now she's being possessed by the dark side and just being used? That was an interesting thought I had. But the one I like the most, even though I still believe it's just a vision,
yes,
I don't want to get my hopes up, is what if it's a clone of her?
Okay, I'm with you on this.
Yeah.
So I've actually thought about this quite a bit, also in reference to Rey in the cave in The Last Jedi.
Right.
She sees several versions of her.
Right. And that's it. Yeah, exactly. And to me, we're on the same page.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I thought too, is like, what if this is similar to Luke's, in the cave, but all of a sudden this is really foreshadowing. Like she's snapping and you see all these, and so how many clone versions have there been of her?
Right.
And that would also back up Kylo saying, your parents are nobody. And like, so what if she was just multiple clones, and then this one particular one, someone within the facility, whoever cloned her, said she's our only hope to defeat the other one. So as a child, we're going to drop her off, and let the Force be what it is, have its will. And so like all of a sudden she confronts her exact clone,
or her cloned body was in one of those, Star Destroyers that crashed on Jakku.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That makes sense too. Yeah.
So, I mean, we know that that the Emperor planned for the big battle of Jakku. That's at least canon now. So, who's to say? But yes, I had also thought. I mean, my kids and I, we've been listening to Heir to the Empire series, and there is a whole evil version of Luke that's a clone Luke that battles the very end of that series, cloned from his hand that the Emperor took. So who's to say that she's not a clone and she's not going to battle herself, or Kylo's not going to battle her? Evil Kylo versus evil Rey. Okay, here's one other thought that I want to throw out there at you.
Sure.
Is they've referenced how close these two are connected, Kylo and Rey. What if Kylo, as he flips to the light side, she's pulled to the dark?
Right.
And it's a total teeter-totter. One has to be on one side and one has to be on the other. So that was my only other kind of like brainstorming as far as like what is going on with Dark Side Rey. Is that Kylo flips somehow, or he's pulled to the light finally, and she's and then of course, yeah, like you said, possession, Snoke. There's a lot of theories out there that Snoke was Palpatine this whole time. I haven't read those theories. I try to stay as spoiler free as possible. One little, and hopefully this was just a foible or just a mess up from Star Wars, but on the Disney Star Wars website, there was a description, and some Redditor found this and like screen capped it, and then it was changed. But they had described, so this was coming from Disney and Star Wars, they had described the trailer and had referred to that vision of Rey, of Darkseid Rey, kind of alluding to the fact that, is this a vision? And then that was changed. The word vision was changed to that sight of Darkseid Rey. So whatever, it's a word change. Who knows? Maybe they were like, ooh, that doesn't give anything away, but we don't want people to read too much into it. Or maybe they were like, ooh, that's a little too close to the truth. So who knows? I will tell you that my 12-year-old daughter is just like beside herself. Like, no, Rey can't go to the dark side.
Right.
So,
and although I think it would be cool to see the roles flipped like that, I think they won't do it just for that very reason. Like, they don't want to have, millions of little girls that have just, spent the last couple of years loving Rey to all of a sudden, like, she's dead to me now. She went to the dark side.
Well, I mean, think about George Lucas's original plan with Luke.
I know, but yeah.
I mean, Luke was supposed to end, Return of the Jedi was supposed to end with Luke picking up the mantle of Darth Vader and saying, I am now Darth Vader.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously that would have opened up a really great episode 7.
Yeah, it really would.
But I think he was at a point where he was like, no, I'm done.
Well, yeah, I think he was exhausted, and he's going through a divorce, and
yes,
and I would, and I think he really only had. I don't think he had the story fleshed out, and in time to really do it.
Yeah,
and of course, losing his producer before Jedi really, I think, hurt him too. So, yeah, but I definitely would have liked that. If Leia would have never been his sister, and the whole episode 7 would have been Luke's now at the dark side, and his actual sister would have been discovered and, brought him back. And that would have been an interesting story to tell.
Yeah, for sure.
And because I definitely I like Jedi. I think it's the weakest of the original trilogy. I know there's a lot of people who love Jedi, and I don't fault them for loving Jedi. I get why it's enjoyable, but yeah, I think it was. I'm one of those people who does think that Han should have died in Jedi. And it was a little too happy for me because coming from Empire, which is just like whoa. To all of a sudden like, oh, we've got teddy bears, and it's all a happy ending. But
hey, it's just
it is what it is.
Yeah, they just cut their production in half. That's all. Yeah. Anyway, we have to cut our production in half because we have another podcast to record. If you want to listen to more of Nick and I, you can head over to the Ramblecast and listen to the RCAD. We will be making an appearance over there quite shortly. And if you enjoy this show, send us an email. The Force is well done at gmail.com, or give us a review. We would always appreciate that. And if you like what we do, check out our Amazon affiliate link. You can shop from there. Go to jandjack.com. You'll get a link for that. As well as I'd like to thank our patrons at this time. All of them that make this possible, from the smallest to the largest, but specifically the largest donors. Tag from Paris, Ed the Letter Carrier, Maggie the Magnificent, Joanne with the Plan, Drake the Destroyer, and Eckhart Richter. I don't know why you don't have a little catch thing there, but Eckhart Richter. I put you at last because bygone it, mixing it up. Anyway, thank you for joining us, and look forward to the next time Nick and I can record, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Good show.
It's one in a million.
Oh yeah, that's my catchphrase. Great show, kids. 1 in a million.
See ya.